Michael Montero, more tales from the rooftop. I wanted to address something that I'm starting to notice, and actually I started to notice it last year, but it's really started to rear its ugly head this week after Vasyl Lomachenko completely dismantled Nicholas Walters. One-sided, complete whitewash, right? We're starting to see a lot of Lomachenko haters, detractors, come out of the woodwork. And it's just so damn typical. And anytime one of these guys who looks a little different, sounds a little different, walks and talks a little different, represents any sort of change from the old guard, comes along and starts gaining some ground, certain people start getting mad because they feel threatened. They feel threatened. That's, I've been thinking a lot about this. It's the same thing with the Sergey Kovalev, Andre Ward thing from last week. There's just people out there who feel threatened. They're scared because things are changing in the sport, and there's people coming from different parts of the world, and they don't have the power yet. They don't have the political power. Again, you just look at Kovalev Ward and you see. But they're starting to gain power because they're starting to gain the fans. And people are just getting mad. They're just getting really, really mad. So some of these Lomachenko detractors, now they're popping up out of everywhere. And it's not just fans. It's actually people who consider themselves media are starting to come out with some of these things. There's new talking points because these guys got to have talking points. We know all the Golovkin talking points, the Kovalev talking points. Well, now there's some Lomachenko ones. And the first one is that he lost to Orlando Salido. How can an elite level fighter, a pound for pound level fighter like this, lose to a guy like Orlando Salido? I expect ignorant, casual fans to the sport, maybe people who are just new to the sport, to have that kind of point of view, but not diehard, knowledgeable fans, and not media members who write articles and do work in this business. You should know better. You should know the nuance. You should know the story behind that fight. Number one, for Vasyl Lomachenko to take a challenge like that in his second pro fight speaks volumes. His resume, 2 fights in, was better than Gary Russell's 20 fights in, even with that loss. But any of you that paid attention and actually watched that fight and know what the hell happened, you know that Orlando Salido didn't even try to make weight. He came in way overweight. And the night of the fight, he weighed 147 pounds. He was literally a welterweight. Vasyl Lomachenko made the 126 weight limit, as he was supposed to. And then, I think on fight night it might have been 134, 135. So he was, you could say, a lightweight. But essentially on fight night, you had a lightweight against a welterweight. And not just that, but a lightweight that had killed himself to make 126, and a welterweight that did not kill himself, who was coming into the ring fat and comfortable that night. Then if you actually watch the fight, you see Orlando Salido repeatedly foul Lomachenko numerous times. Points should have been docked in that fight, okay? I love Orlando Salido. I'm a fan because he's really, truly one of those hard knock guys who carved out a really, really good career for himself. He's going to be named in the fight of the year in 2016, right? He's done a lot for fight fans, and he's really, really entertained fight fans for a long, long time. So I like Orlando Salido a lot. But let's be real, game peep game. He's one of the dirtiest fighters in the damn sport. He goes low probably more than anybody. Uses the head, the forearms, all of it. And Lomachenko basically had to learn on the job that night the differences in the pro ranks versus the amateur ranks. And what other fighters do over 20 fights, 30 fights, he did in one fight. He lost the first half of that fight pretty soundly, but came back in the second half of that fight to make it close and competitive and almost pulled it off. Almost. That alone speaks volumes, to do that in your second pro fight. But because he got the L, and he did lose that fight. I think 7-5 Salido is probably the right score. He lost that fight. Some of you out there who grew up in the Floyd Mayweather era and are used to seeing O's on elite fighters' resumes, you're going to always look at that loss that Lomachenko had as a sign that he is not elite. When I hear some of you saying stuff like that, it's insane. It's insane. Another talking point, and this is the one that really got to me this week, coming from media people, coming from a lot of fans, is that HBO was basically the commentary as he was beating down Nicholas Walters and making him quit. HBO is just salivating over this guy and calling him great and talking about his skills and how dynamic he is and how he does everything. Yet, fighters like Rigondeaux are called boring, and Andre Ward are called boring, and Floyd Mayweather and Bernard Hopkins and even Terrence Crawford are called boring. I don't even know where to start unpacking that. But, and also these guys all fight the exact same. They have the exact same style. But one's called boring, the other one's called awesome. It must be racist. It must be racial. And Guillermo Rigondeaux, I don't know if he has control over his Twitter account or not, but he went on Twitter today and went nuts, tweeting out a bunch of crap about and making it racial. Straight up making it racial, naming all those fighters and saying, oh, you got to be Caucasian to get respect, blah, 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 blah. So it's not just media people and fans, it's even some of these fighters doing it. Let me just say this much. Lomachenko doesn't fight anything like Rigondeaux or Andre Ward or Floyd Mayweather or Bernard Hopkins or Terrence Crawford. Those guys don't fight the same. Andre Ward fights similar to Floyd Mayweather and Bernard Hopkins. You can make those comparisons. But guys like Terrence Crawford, he's a dynamic boxer puncher who can get guys out of there if you piss him off and give him the chance. He was really only called boring in that fight with Victor Postol because he was dominating so much and he just kind of coasted late when some people wanted to see him go for the kill. When you're fighting on pay-per-view, when you're demanding millions of dollars, when you've won Fighter of the Year, when you've won accolades, when you're at a certain level in the sport, fans demand more. So comparing him and the criticism he took in that Victor Postol fight to Vasyl Lomachenko, who's making $750,000 a fight, is still building himself up and proving himself, is not yet at the level Terrence Crawford is as far as stardom and money making and all that. That's a stupid comparison. It's just stupid. When it comes to Andre Ward, he fights nothing like Lomachenko. Andre Ward wants to get inside, smother, grapple, maul the hell out of you, hit you low in the clinch, hit you when he's pushing you or spinning you out of the clinch, or while the ref is yelling, break! That's when he's going to hit you to the body. On the outside, he might pot shot you with a nice sharp jab every now and then. Very, very rarely throws combinations. Almost never throws combinations. Does not fight like Lomachenko. Andre Ward goes in and out linearly, right? Straight forward, straight back. Lomachenko spins. He fights at angles. He spins you. They don't fight at all like each other. Guillermo Rigondeaux doesn't fight at all like Vasyl Lomachenko. Has about half the offensive output. Is more of a defensive specialist and a spoiler than a dynamic boxer puncher. Yes, Rigondeaux can get you out of there, but he doesn't really care to. Look at his fight with Nonito Donaire. Look at the punch numbers from that fight. Look at the punch numbers from Vasyl Lomachenko's win over Nicholas Walters. He threw more punches in 7 rounds than Rigondeaux threw in 12 rounds against Donaire. Compare Lomachenko's punch output to the average 130-pound fighter. You will find he's more active and more accurate than the average 130-pounder. By contrast, you compare Rigondeaux to the average 122-pound fighter. You will find he throws less than average and isn't that much more accurate. He's about average accuracy with the average fighter in his division. They are not the same. In Floyd Mayweather, we're going to compare Lomachenko to Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is the highest paid athlete in all of sports for how many years running? Not this year because he's taken a break until he comes back to fight number 50, but you can't compare Floyd to anyone else in the sport. He's an anomaly. So some of these comparisons are just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Sadly, I think this is only going to continue. It's only going to get worse because there are people out there who make excuses for it, condone it, enable it, even promote it. It's going to continue more and more and more. Again, I will say, people feel threatened. And as more and more of these fighters from different parts of the world come here and establish themselves with the fans and start gaining political power, that's when a lot of these guys are really gonna freak out. They're mad right now and they're jealous and they see double standards because some of these guys are getting fan love versus the Andre Wards and guys like that. But once these guys start getting political power to where you see Sergey Kovalev get the decision over Andre Ward like he should have gotten, that's when these people are just gonna go batshit. I can't wait for that, because that's going to happen over the next decade, over this next generation. Guys like Igis Klimas, who's bringing these guys over and building up more and more of them, you're going to see it more and more, guys. Sorry. But to say that Andre Ward, a fighter like him, doesn't get accolades, this dude has won Fighter of the Year. He's made millions of dollars. He's gotten the benefit of the doubt time and time again. HBO's had a hard-on for him for 4+ years now, going back to the Ken Hirschman days. They've dealt with stall after stall, inactivity, fighting with his promoter, all of it. Tune-up after tune-up before finally getting a return on their investment in the Kovalev fight, when he finally took on a real pound-for-pound level type of fighter. And you saw that it was a dud. I just don't see where the disrespect is. I don't see where the double standards are. If anything, it's the other way around. But you have a generation of people that have been taught they can't be wrong. There's never any responsibility or accountability for anything people say. They could just throw shit out there. Right now, let me set the record straight. Anyone who has Vasyl Lomachenko #1 on their pound-for-pound list or in the Hall of Fame or something, you're crazy. He hasn't done enough. Neither is Guillermo Rigondeaux, right? These guys need more professional fights. Their stellar amateur careers count toward their pound-for-pound rating right now. I'm with you on that. The potential is there. The eye test, it's all there. But these guys need more fights to prove that they're among the pound-for-pound best in the pro ranks right now. And I include Golovkin in that. You can't have Golovkin #1. You can't have those guys up there. They haven't done enough yet as pros. But to say that Vasyl Lomachenko is all smoke and mirrors, to say Gennady Golovkin is straight up and down and basic, to say these guys are getting more play, more respect, more accolades than other more proven fighters, I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. And you're comparing apples to oranges. A lot is. You need to start comparing apples to apples, oranges to oranges. There's nuance, there's details, there's gray area. Whatever term you want to use, you have to include that stuff. You can't just say Lomachenko lost a fight, he sucks. It's not that simple.